Hi, it's Richard here from the Siebel Hub with the second in my series of videos about the Levato solution for creating mobile Siebel user experiences. You'll remember from the first video and the first article that Levato has a very simple paradigm. With Siebel CRM, you install an agent in your enterprise, and then you access the Levato administration console that you've got right in front of you right now to manipulate objects, which are essentially business components, import them into Levato, and then you use the notion of a repository or repositories to create pages for the users to see. And you can have multiple repositories, each one used by different sets of users. This time around, I want to focus on just how easy it is to create and deploy a new user experience involving a business component to the mobile device. Whereas other solutions might be complicated, require specific or shall we say considerable technical knowledge, you're going to see that even someone like me can deliver a complete set of views in really just a few minutes. So where I'm going to start, as you can see, is I have only one repository here right now and only one user associated with it. That's me. So I'm going to be able to test it. I'm going to go to my configure button and I'm going to configure a new view. Later in this video series, we'll also discuss the flows object. But for now, I'm simply going to create a new view. I'm going to use a business component that I happen to have already imported in the last video because, as it happens, I'm using Siebel Public Sector. So I'm going to call this the incident detail view as an example. The object I will choose from one of the imported business components, and the default is detail view. I'm going to add it to the repository, and now I have a few pieces of information to set the view up. There's a default title, which will just be the name of the business component. And right now I'm going to say that my detail view will be a read-only detail view. Later on we'll look at creating edit views and add views. And the title field, so the header if you will, I'm going to say is something like the name of the incident. Quick links can be added to the top of the view, which would be, for example, a web link to LinkedIn or Facebook if you had that information available in fields, or it could be an access quick link to another view. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and add some fields. So I'm going to add the name again, because it's always good to have the name, and I'm going to have the incident type as well, which should be in here somewhere. It's always good to have the incident type. You'll notice that the type defaults to select. That's because when we imported the object, we also imported any necessary pick lists or hierarchical pick lists. I'll add, there's bound to be a description. Yeah, there we go. And I'll add the priority, I think. 4 fields will do, since this is detail. Okay, so now I have 4 fields. I'm going to save the object. I think you would agree that's not particularly complicated. I'm going to go back to the repository and show you that now that I've done it once, I can do it again. I'm going to create the incident list view. And I'm going to say that it's based on PLS incident, PubHLS incident, and it's a list view. As you can see, there's a set of default view types, I beg your pardon. So once again, it doesn't require a great deal of configuration at this stage. No header, no title. I'll leave the default. The title field for the list itself, I think, will be the name field. And in the list, we will have the priority. I don't know if I could spell it right. The priority. And we'll also have the type. And what else should we have? Let's have the account. The account is bound to be in here. There we go. Right. You'll notice that underneath the list fields, which I'm building, there is also a show target. So this list is going to be clickable. So I want people to be able to click on a record and go to, for example, my incident detail view. So you'll have a list and a detail view. I'm not going to configure any of the searching for now. I'm simply going to save my view. Having saved my view, I'm going to go back to the default repository, and I'm going to look for another object this time. I'm going to look for the navigation object. The navigation object, as its name suggests, is where we can create some navigation links. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new navigation link to my incident list view. I'm going to set the icon to something appropriate, which now I think about it is quite a struggle. Investigation, incident, what could we have? Let's choose the bullhorn. And let's change the color of the symbol to white, and the color of the background, why not, to bright red. And I'll move it up the list, there we go, and I'll save my navigation. Now that I've made a few changes, I'm going to deploy to my staging environment. I have two, staging and production, so I'm going to deploy to staging, and then I'll switch over so that you can see my mobile device. Thanks to the magic of Hollywood, more specifically the fact that Windows allows me to broadcast my phone, I'm able to show you my live mobile phone. I'm going to go to the Levato app, which is this icon here, which is this icon that I've just clicked on, and I'm going to log myself into the staging environment. You'll notice immediately that there's a red bullhorn on the top left-hand corner of my user interface. When I click it, I can see a list, and I have 3 items. The title is the default, which is the business component, and when I click on one of the items, I see the details of the incident in my detail view. Simple. And I can navigate back using the arrow. Gotta admit, it's pretty hard to do this live with one hand. Brilliant. So far, so good. Now let's consider stepping up a bit and adding a few different views to improve the user experience. So I'm now going to go ahead and create another view, and we'll call it the Incident Add view. This will be a view, as its name suggests, that users will use to create records. I'm going to choose Detail View because it is essentially a detail view, but there's only one small change I need to make. I need to change its mode to Add. And as before, I'm going to add a few fields. So rather than keep you waiting, I've simply added the fields in the same way as before. Name, priority, incident type, and description. I'm going to save that view too. I'm going to go ahead now and add an edit view as well using the same technique. And save. Finally, I'm going to add a search view. A search view has a similar layout to a list with a header, and let's search for incident name and incident type. On the right-hand side, you'll see operator, so we can have a default starts with operator. The user will be able to change the operator while searching, but these will control the defaults. Underneath, you'll see search target. So what happens when we need to display the results of the search? Well, we'll use our list view from earlier on to display the results of the search. And I'll save those changes right away. So now we have a set of views. We're going to go back and perform a few modifications to improve the experience. I'm going to go back to my incident detail view, which you'll remember was read-only. I'm going to go back to the definition, and I'm going to go to the edit target and say that should someone see a record in my read-only view that they want to edit, they can edit it by going to the incident edit view. So we'll see a shortcut for the user to be able to move from read-only to edit, if that's what we want. And I'll save my change. In the same way, I'm going to go back to my list view, as an example, and in my list view, I'm going to say that when someone wants to create a record, they can use my add view. These are all just examples. And I'll save those changes. Finally, as before, I'll go to the repository navigation, and instead of having the incident list view, I'll choose the incident search view as the starting point for my user's navigation. After saving, I'll deploy all this to staging and go and look at it on the mobile device. Done. On the mobile device, I'll click the cogwheel and I'll ask for a refresh of the configuration. That's that done. I'll go back to my home page and click the bullhorn. You'll notice this time round that it goes to a search page with the two fields I mentioned, name and account type, with starts with as the default operator. And I'll put in just the letter N as my criteria and search. The results are displayed in a list. If you can't find the record that you're looking for, you'll observe the plus sign at the top right-hand corner so that if I click it, I can create a new record. Or I can cancel out of that. My list is clickable, so I'll click a record. And here I have my read-only list record, my read-only detail. But if I want to, I can click the edit button and I can edit only the fields that were defined in the edit view. Super. I'll cancel out of that. And I'll cancel out of that. And I'll come back out of there. The final thing I want to show you today is another kind of view. So I'm going to go and create one final view, and I'm going to call it the incident aggregate view. An aggregate view, as its name suggests, is a collection of views to assist navigation. So an aggregate view, there we go. It's using pub HLS incident, and now I'm going to add my subviews. Subview number 1 would be incident list view. Subview number 2, incident add view. Subview number 3, let's add one more just for the sake of it, incident search view. And each of them can have their own icons. So let's look for, what do you call it, binoculars. Each of these subviews can have their own icon. So for the list, for example, I'm going to choose the book. For the add view, let's choose, is there a plus sign? Of course there is. Thank goodness for internet icons, if I could find it. Let's choose the check mark. And the search view, nice and logical, aren't they? We'll choose the automobile. All done, and I'm going to save. I'm going to return to a previous view that I created, the list view. Incident list view, there it is. In the list view, I'm going to change the target view to incident aggregate view. I'll save the changes and then deploy them to my staging environment. Back in Windows Phone, I'm going to refresh my configuration. And from my home page, I'm going to click the navigation icon. So here's my search again. I'm going to search for the same records. Now I have my list. I'm going to click on New Incident. You'll notice at the bottom of this page, I now have 3 icons. The 3 icons that I chose, the book, the checkmark, and the automobile, which you'll remember were my list, edit, and search. I grant you that none of those icons are particularly useful. However, it does provide a neat way to allow users to accomplish common tasks while looking at their list of data. Well, I think I've shown to you that in the space of only a few minutes, I've been able to create a whole bunch of different views with a whole bunch of cool functionalities. Now, of course, I didn't add titles, I didn't add nice logos, icons, I didn't make any particularly sophisticated changes to fields, I didn't do any concatenation, I didn't change any defaults, but you probably saw all that information as I was browsing through. Next time, we're going to look at how to create something really, really amazingly powerful, which is called a flow. If you're thinking, sounds like Siebel workflow, you'd be absolutely right. So yet another way to quickly improve the user experience in the Levato app. So until next time, this is Richard from the Siebel Hub signing off. Have a great evening.